Hello, everybody. This is Blue Knight 7 of the Blue Knight Cast. I have an episode scheduled to go out at 1 o'clock that's still being released, and I spend episode 19 basically talking about the pricing news that had come out during the Nintendo Switch 2 news following the direct on Wednesday, and just sort of giving my take on the pricing of the games and the system. And obviously I'd like you to watch that, like, subscribe, but I felt the need after putting that up to get back on and make another quick update, because as soon as I got done I started looking again, and Nintendo has delayed the pre-orders of... They were originally scheduled to start taking pre-orders on Switch 2 in the US on April 9th. And obviously, there was going to be the base system at $449.99 and a bundle with Mario Kart World for $499.99. And everybody complaining about Mario Kart World being $80, the prospect of other games being $80. But we just got hit with this news, and I'll credit RGT85 for cluing me in on this on YouTube. And then I did my own research and found an article on IGN that I'll show you. But Nintendo delays Switch 2 pre-order date in the US to assess impact of Trump's tariffs. There you go. Will the price go up? Nintendo has taken the unprecedented decision to delay Switch 2 pre-orders in the US, blaming the impact of Trump's tariffs and evolving market conditions. Pre-orders were set to go live in the US on April 9. Nintendo did not share an updated kickoff date, but did promise that the June 5th, 2025 release date of the Switch 2 itself remains intact. Nintendo issued to IGN the following statement: pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start April 9, 2025 in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. Nintendo has confirmed the pre-order delay is specific to the US. In the UK, for example, Nintendo's pre-order delay remains unchanged. Nintendo announced Switch 2 for $49.99 with the Mario Kart World bundle price $499.99, and Mario Kart World itself is priced $79.99. I'll just say refer to episode 19 for everything I had to say about that, and a list of what it comes with, which obviously it's the system and the cables and things you'd think would come with that. Nintendo's statement issued today raises the prospect that it could hike the price of the Switch 2 and its games further amid what is already an angry backlash to its next-gen pricing strategy. Speaking in a video on their YouTube channel, former Nintendo of America PR managers Kit Ellis and Krista Yang criticized Nintendo for the way it revealed the $449 price of the Switch 2 and the $79.99 price of Mario Kart World following this week's Nintendo Direct. I don't want to blow things out of proportion, but this does feel like a true crisis moment for Nintendo, Ellis said. Going more to market news related to this, U.S. markets tumbled today after China hit back against Donald Trump's raft of tariffs. China, which faces a 54% import tax, has retaliated with an additional 34% tax on U.S. goods from last week. Moments before U.S. markets opened, Trump said China played it wrong, they panicked, and insisted his policies would never change. The world is now left facing economic uncertainty, and some mainstream news media declaring the era of cheap goods now over for the American consumer, as higher tariffs are automatically passed through to inflation and higher prices. Tariffs are essentially taxes placed on the cost of importing certain goods. While it's possible for companies in the supply chain to simply eat these costs, more often than not, these taxes are passed on to consumers, and unfortunately for gamers, rising prices are very likely to impact tech and gaming goods. Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmed has warned that Trump's surprise tariffs on countries such as Vietnam, where Nintendo had shifted some of its Switch 2 manufacturing in anticipation of U.S. tariffs on China, might have caused a rethink. While the company has shifted some of its manufacturing to Vietnam to offset U.S. tariffs on China, the looming threat of reciprocal tariffs prior to the Switch 2 showcase will have also forced Nintendo to consider a higher price for the rest of the world, Ahmed said. The reciprocal tariffs on Vietnam and Japan have come in higher than expected, and Nintendo will feel the impact of this if the tariffs go into full effect. Okay. That's a whole lot quickly. I'm going to say some things that I normally would not have thought I'd be talking about on this channel I made. And things I wanted to kind of stay away from on this channel a little bit. Like, not be shy to talk about it, but I feel like I'm going to have to go lean in full on here. Without going into personal details of my life, I'll just say I follow legal matters closely. I follow political matters somewhat closely. I have been following politics the last few years in the U.S. I'm not trying to advocate for a particular party here. I feel like it's a free country and you should be able to criticize both parties, and the us versus them has been the worst part of our politics in recent years. Just wanted to say that up front. That being said, Donald Trump can kiss my ass. This is probably not a big surprise. You heard me talk about maybe tariffs being a factor in the episode 19 for some of this, for pricing, maybe future proofing against tariffs. But in light of this news, I'm going to take a different tact. I think this changes my calculus a little bit. I do think Nintendo was taking the position our games are worth this much and we should be asking more and taking inflation into account. And I still think inflation is a thing. But Nintendo had routed a lot of its manufacturing through Vietnam. And I think that was to make tariffs more favorable at the time. There were news articles, and even in the recent one where President Furukawa was asked about tariffs, he seemed to think it was not going to be a big deal. They have manufacturing in multiple lanes. And I'm sure the idea was, if something changes, we'll change our production line. We can handle it. I don't have specific numbers for everything. I'll refer you to what that IGN article said, and I'll try to put it in the description in a minute. But Trump on the same day as the Switch 2 Direct, announced a ton of tariffs for multiple countries, and he referred to it as his Liberation Day, liberating America from being cheated on global trade. With most economists saying this makes no sense, he's going to wreck the economy, no sense. We have a global economy today that didn't exist in the past. I mean, this is madness. And I feel like I should watch what I say, but if you're being honest, you might as well say it, right? I kind of relaxed a little bit on tariffs, so I stayed uneasy the last few months because Trump had a way of balking at the last minute. He would announce these big tariffs on Mexico and Canada and then put them off for a month, which seemed like a way to save face when he realized Canada and Mexico weren't really bending over for him, so to speak, and are bowing down to him. That's not what we're seeing here now. This is, Trump is basically trying to follow through on this stuff at this point, it looks like. And we have, if you follow political news, like I say, and, don't take my word for it, just look it up. Look up quality sources, too. Not Alex Jones, not Fox News, not even MSNBC, I would argue. Look for NPR, look for BBC. Look for Reuters, Associated Press. You will notice some things in the last few months. One is leaders of different countries trying to rework their trade agreements with each other, not including the U.S. Canada is trying to renegotiate things with the EU and other countries. Mexico is trying to rework some trade agreements with other countries of its own. Japan, China, South Korea historically had an economic summit a few days ago where they were trying to improve trade relations amongst themselves. And I've had to worry for a while that Trump would follow through on these tariffs and we would have this period of time where prices on everything go sky high because, quite frankly, our domestic manufacturers were not ready for this. Believe me, I'll make this prediction. You can tell me later if I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of domestic companies here who were not ready for all of this. We kept hearing about tariffs on China and things like that. And this Canada and Mexico tariffs that never made a whole lot of sense. But he's going to declare all these tariffs on all of these countries, including Vietnam, Cambodia, you name it. I think there's even a tariff on the Antarctic islands. There's hardly anything out there except penguins, but we're putting a tariff on them. Just look it up. And my reason for saying all this is we probably are, just stepping away from video games a minute, we probably are going to have this period where everything's going to cost a little bit more. And it's going to be even tougher on families. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to buy a vehicle. It's going to be tough to buy tech, gear. It's going to be tough to do a lot of things. And it's coming at a time when a person kind of wants to be excited about some new tech, wants to be excited about a new Switch 2 after 8 years, and wanting a true Switch Pro in between. It's going to be tough. Having to go through COVID and dealing with all kinds of random price increases and supply line problems on stuff. Politics, economics, politics, they impact lives. Lives. It may suck for a while, people. I'm just being honest. Stock market has been going down also as a result. I mean, it's going to suck for a bit. If you're wanting advice as to what to do about this, I mean, I'm not that person. But do we have a right to protest? Yes. Do we have a right to speak freely? Yes. Do we have a right to vote for people in upcoming elections? Yes. This year is not a huge election year for Congress. Next year is election year for midterms. If our leaders don't fix this, they need to be voted out. And I don't care what party they are. If they are not making an effort to fix this, they need to go be voted out. That's my politics. Democrat, Republican, Green, Independent, Libertarian, I don't care. What's going on is insanity. They need to be voted out. If they're for this, they are not for me. That's what I'm saying. But trying to go back to Nintendo for a minute, because I guess that was the purpose of this video. I think they had their intentions. I don't think tariffs were that significant up to now, because I think they thought they had that figured out. And then Trump comes along with this big tariff on Vietnam they weren't expecting, and other countries too. Any country they use got something. And stock's down. Their stock has actually been going down too, partly because of the pricing thing. They kind of shot themselves in the foot the way they handled getting information out on pricing on Wednesday. It's not all politics. Nintendo kind of hurt themselves a little bit here. But I think what we're seeing here is part a reaction to them trying to fix their own mistakes, or partly reassessing their own planning, but also partly just responding to China, Vietnam, so on, all these countries getting a big tariff the same day they were making all these announcements. To be 100% honest, I think they would have been wise to move that April 2nd direct by a little bit, just to see what was going on. Though by the time they scheduled it, they probably thought Trump was not really going to do significant changes to their tariffs. And so what does this mean for us? I don't know if it really means a lot in the context of games. I don't think they would dare raise the price on games at this point. Could we have the thing in the UK where physicals are $90? Micro SD Express costs a little more? Could be. Could we have the actual console price go up now in light of the tariffs? I think that's more the concern. Are they going to figure out whether they can still make a profit or sell the Switch 2 as slight loss, hoping we buy the $80 games? I think that's possible. Or could they raise the price again slightly? I think that's possible too. I would not rule out Sony, Microsoft, anybody else having to do slight price increases on their hardware either. Even if it's random things like controllers, I think you can't rule out any physical goods going up in price in the near future. And it sucks. It sucks. I guess that's all I can say about it right now. And yes, this was more of a rant than anything else. But I did want to try to get that information out. But just everybody, my best advice is just take a deep breath, hold on, make sure your needs are took care of, the people you care about are took care of. Take care of yourself. Mental health's a thing. Take care of yourself. And maybe the best thing we can do right now is just breathe and watch the news as it comes in. It's not like we can pre-order the Switch right now anyway. Let's just breathe, see what happens, go from there. I'll try to keep reporting on this pretty regular as it comes up. Everybody have a good day. Watch out for yourself. Watch out for each other.